My name is Erica Lorraine Spencer, and I remain subject to state surveillance and terrorism by the state of California that is operating a malicious targeting system which is referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices. And it is in violation of federal stalking statute 18 U.S.C. sections 2261A subsections 1 and 2. My website and podcast serve the public good by publishing evidence of the public entity's ceaseless engagement in a pattern of conduct intended to stalk and monitor via communication devices, surveil, harass, and terrorize an American citizen in concert with the people of the state of California. Documentation serves the lawful purposes of wide exposure, federal prosecution, and influencing federal legislation with policies specifically designed to punish, dismantle, and disincentivize an unprecedented targeting system by a public entity that acts in concert with the people of the state in order to criminally place under surveillance and terrorize an American citizen, which is a matter of public corruption in the state of California. Notice: intellectual property theft is particularly egregious and equally unlawful where the sole inventor and creator of the intellectual property is the targeted individual. Erica Lorraine Spencer, subject to the unconstitutional and inhumane government system of gang stalking, otherwise referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices, because of which the intellectual property created by the targeted individual, who is, in fact, Erica Lorraine Spencer, as the intellectual property also proves, serves to establish via evidence and expose the existence of criminal surveillance and thus an inherent threat posed by the U.S. government and the civilian population sharing engagement in the unlawful system. Such evidence, that includes all of the content created by Erica Lorraine Spencer, images, videos, audio, etc., belongs solely and entirely to Erica Lorraine Spencer only and is necessarily published online in order to protect her life, safety, and liberty as the targeted individual, who is also the intellectual property owner, no less protected from theft procured through targeting by a public entity. Theft of any intellectual property belonging to Erica Lorraine Spencer, which is necessarily committed while she, being both creator and inventor, remains oppressed by the public entity via criminal surveillance, is a criminal and inhumane means of infringement under all circumstances and not protected nor enforceable pursuant to any invalid or fraudulent acts of copyright, trademarks, patents, etc., including as it pertains to any ideas associated with or generated from the intellectual property or the intellectual property owner, Erica Lorraine Spencer, whether creative, business, or otherwise, nor does the intellectual property owner consent to any such means of infringement and theft. Erica Lorraine Spencer here. The following is an audio version of video evidence that is captured for purposes of mass distribution, which is why I am capturing it and sharing it on the podcast for evidentiary purposes and also to reveal the wealth of documentation that extends beyond what it is that I document on podcasts. Much of the video and images will be published onto the YouTube channel, the P.O.C, and it is also shared on the Google Drive. Again, this is for purposes of revealing what I remain subject to, which is federal group stalking and monitoring. It is a demonic system of state surveillance that the government is practicing in concert with the people of the state, and it should be known and well understood that for the government to engage in federal group stalking and monitoring, this is a crime that is committed with a criminal purpose to threaten the life of an American citizen. This is to conspire to murder and or permanently kidnap an American citizen while engaging in a perpetual sex offense in concert with the people of the state.
Psychopathic. Severely unstable and ripe for committing. This is an entity, while the government is engaging in the criminal pattern of conduct, the people of the state that you see in the previous videos walking around that building, engaging in the criminal pattern of conduct while combining it with the mentally ill behavior of failing at projecting your embarrassing criminal conduct, your obsession, your overt engagement in the pattern of conduct, while your mental illness is proven literally through the environment and your monitoring conduct. That's the entity that is sharing in what is the mental illness of the entity that's up at 5 in the morning stalking me. They are indeed mentally ill and they are indeed being committed. This is the P.O.C. This is the entity that's requiring commitment as a matter of national security, protection of the American people. All right. And it is also the baseline means of prosecuting a gang stalker. This is the P.O.C. It is currently 5:11 a.m. at the Ovid Family Community Library. And like you saw this morning at 12, there are no scheduled flights. And there are no scheduled flights that are flying over the John Stewart apartment complex. And everybody inside of the John Stewart complex is gang stalking. They're equally obsessed with me. And they're equally mentally ill. And they're all also losing government assistance. They will not be sleeping inside of any building that a government is going to pay for, finance. They're going to find a way to pay their own rent. And that is the consequences of gang stalking. So you have too much time on your hands. And so now you're going to be forced to find out your own way to pay your rent. This is the P.O.C. It is currently 5:11 a.m. at the Ovid Family Community Library. This is P.O.C. All right, clear. The entity that is gang stalking is doing so with the people of the state, and the evidence of gang stalking in relevant position inside of the facilitating venues is not only evidence to prosecute, it is the evidence to commit, and that is exactly how this evidence is going to be used. This is the entity that is severely unstable even by the continuation of gang stalking. I just want to be clear, continuation of the people of the state inside of the facilitating venues gang stalking. The entity is monitoring as one, the demons, as you've already seen them, as they show themselves gang stalking and open, and they're gang stalking by walking outside, stalking together. All right, the entity is monitoring right now, obsessing over me as I'm outside, sleep, and you're wasting millions of dollars stalking me in planes. That's going to be put in a mental facility, and it makes up the population who are the people of the state. And this is the evidence to have them committed. This is the P.O.C. at the Ovid Family Community Library. This is 5:39 a.m.
This is P.O.C. And I love when they pull out their cell phones, which is evidence of them gang stalking. This is the John Stewart Company. Even the use of the communication device, the presence of the person, which is activity creation, and the simultaneity of that in engineered light. It's not sunlight that covers the apartment complex. That is gang stalking and everyone in it. Crossing path while this is the building that no airport is maintaining any flights hovering over, and certainly Delta Airlines that's hovering over it at 6:13 in the morning, at 6:14 a.m. is not engaging in any flight. Holding up your phone is the behavior of a demon that is caught engaging in criminal activity that they're embarrassed about. And they hold up the weapon that's going to be used to have them committed. Remember, the mental illness is shared by those that are sharing in the equally psychopathic pacing, and they're gang stalking. Criminal activity that you are providing evidence of against yourself. And this is a documented terrorist that's engaging in this routinely. Pay attention to the engineered light. She's also gang stalking as a matter of evidence at the Ontario Town Square, where the entity is hovering with the commercial airline planes and the U.S. military. The entity stalking by helicopter last night included this defendant. Alrighty, maintaining presence. And this is the prosecution of the John Stewart Company. I just want to be clear. Your residents are gang stalking. I'm prosecuting you. And your employees are gang stalking. I shall be prosecuting you. You're also being prosecuted because you're profiting off of the gang stalkers of the occupants who are engaged in federal stalking. This is P.O.C. And this is also a threat. This is a basis for what is federal prison. And it's also going to result in what is damages. This is the entity that is engaging in the mentally ill behavior. Contorting your face as though you don't know what is being documented while you engage in it. And then also
also standing there as though you are documenting some criminal activity that you are subject to. This is the entity that's gang stalking. She also walks out immediately noticing me, not ignorant about her surroundings, while I am inaudibly standing and holding up my device. Again, this is the evidence of gang stalkers who are demon possessed. Under the fake sun rising and set, you are providing evidence against yourself, and it's the evidence that no one gang stalking will receive any HUD housing. These are not victims that you're going to keep inside of any apartments or finance to pay for. They're going to be outside where they clearly belong and they want to be while they're gang stalking. This is the P.O.C. Psychopathic pacing. And she's monitoring evidence that's being published on the internet, and this is the military. You see that? And I want you to see that. That's the P.O.C. This is the entity that's engaging in the pattern of conduct together as one, and this is what they're doing at 12 o'clock in the morning. This is what they're doing at 2 o'clock in the morning, stalking. And Satan does not have an age. The elderly are mentally ill, and the prescriptions that they need isn't about their edema and their high blood pressure. It's about their psychopathic disorders that are being addressed while they're being documented engaging in gang stalking. This is the P.O.C. It is currently 6:17 a.m. This is an entity, not an individual. This is engineer light. So this is presence on behalf of the entity. And this is also obsession. Anything to engage in what is stalking in the path, including holding up a communication device when you're engaging in nothing other than providing evidence that you're stalking. While the entity is engaging in the P.O.C. There are no passengers on these planes. She's gang stalking in concert with the military that has provided a body of evidence against her and the John Stewart Company and everyone occupying all 76 units that are going to be vacated and will be permanently removed from the HUD housing program. This is the P.O.C. It is current it's not even 7. It's 6:17 a.m. This is the P.O.C. That's the entity stalking in a jet. It's indeed the military gang stalking with the people of the state. P.O.C. is currently 6:17 a.m. This is called crossing a path. And also the city of Ontario's gang stalking while she's at the Ontario Town Square gang stalking. This is already in the evidence. This is P.O.C. Alrighty, this is Southwest that is stalking with the people. This is called harassment upon being documented gang stalker. These are hostile terrorists. The entity was doing this all night long, doing it at 12 o'clock in the morning when they were also up monitoring. But now you're looking at a demon that's holding up a communication device that thinks that they have some sort of authority under the law to gang stalk while holding up a communication device in front of their face. She's going to prison. This is the mental illness that's impacting those that are elderly and that are out of their league, and as well as the entity that's gang stalking by helicopter. She's going to prison with regard to the body of evidence of engaging in that P.O.C. and sun, the fake sun that is here 12 hours later while you are engaging in what is the pattern of conduct device is evidence to be used against her for criminal presence in the path. The entire apartment building is engaged in criminal presence. She's going to prison while you're harassing. This is the entities that's doing so while you are gang stalking. Literally, Delta Airlines is flying over. She is crossing path, walking out. Doing so, the apartment building is covered in engineer light. The fake sun is here. The entity is stalking her. These are demons that are sharing in the pattern of conduct. Sarah's Regis Group, Downtown Ontario Luxury Apartments, being federally prosecuted as well. The entity is engaging in that which is impossible light. That's not the sun that will be reflecting off of that building. The entity has engineer light all along the sidewalk. This is where the entity is engaging in after 6 p.m. This is the P.O.C. Okay, engaging what is fixating on me, holding up your device, staring at me, referring to homelessness that you are the cause of as a gang stalking entity. This is all relevant to what is being involuntarily committed and going to federal prison for it. This is the pattern of conduct. Alrighty, this is the entity that's gang stalking with the elderly that you do not have compassion for. Satan doesn't have an age. You're dealing with terrorism. All right, and this is how it's going to be prosecuted uniformly. Psychopathic pacing while the entity's flying over here. She's going to prison. This is the P.O.C. And I want you to see, here's my shadow right here. She's going to prison. This is a gang stalker. P.O.C. She's going to prison. That's United Airlines that also does not maintain any flight halls. She's going to prison. She was gang stalking. She's embarrassed, and so she stands there like the psychopaths do. I'm going to hold up my phone and record you like you're recording me, because that's evidence that I'm not. No, it's evidence that you are, and you are going to prison for it. This is the basis of harassment by the entity that's engaging in that. This is the pattern of conduct, and this is the prosecution damages John Stewart Company. I'm prosecuting you. This is the P.O.C. Your employees are gang stalking into the fake sun, monitoring with the same exact entity. This is the P.O.C. All right. This is hostility that are mentally deranged and are engaging in that P.O.C. Yeah, the laughter of a demon that's engaging in that pattern of conduct under the fake sun. That's called activity creation, sounding like a goat, okay? That's the P.O.C. It is currently 6:23 a.m. This is obsession. Don't forget that. This is the same obsession. This is the same entity that's engaging in the pattern of conduct while you're stalking, while you're contorting your face, while you are still stalking in the path, while you're under the fake sun, while you are inside of the apartment monitoring someone else that's outside, and while you also rely on the government to pay your rent. And you are in an inevitably vulnerable position. Every word, every syllable, and all of the criminal activity is being accumulated together against you. This is the entity that needs to be documented in its bare bones psychopathic form. This is the entity you're being excluded from HUD housing, and so is John Stewart. This is an entity, not an individual. She's imprudent, she's a foolish, but she is the entity. They're all speaking and harassing and stalking together. There will be no HUD housing for the gang stalking elderly in the city of Ontario. There will be no senior center for the gang stalking elderly in Ontario. There will be no housing programs for the gang stalking elderly in Ontario. This is Woodside Senior Apartments. This is the Alvarado Apartments in Los Angeles, and this is an entity that is, again, not minding their business. This is an old biddy that's embarrassed because she's gang stalking a woman that's providing evidence as she walks out. And this is a demon that is stalking. That's Satan. That is Satan. Okay? This is the P.O.C. Satan is the fat male that's sitting on the bench. This is the same demon-possessed entity in an older biddy's body. She's not bitty, she's big, but this is the same demon possession. Monitoring while they're pacing in and out of, do not get distracted. This is the P.O.C. Impossible light, my shadows in front and behind me. This is P.O.C. She is going to prison. Okay? That's why she's not getting any HUD housing. But this is the pattern of conduct. The military is stalking pursuant to criminal presence in the path, including the establishment. It's a prosecution of both the establishment, the corporate entity, and the population that even occupies that building. That's the P.O.C. It is currently it's 6:25 a.m. This is the entity that is obsessed. They're going to be involuntarily committed. This is P.O.C. They're going to be involuntarily committed. P.O.C. Alrighty. While the entity is engaging in what is conspicuous surveillance, that's what that is. The entity is stalking in the path. Yeah, this is the evidence. This is the pattern of conduct. And this is what they were doing at 12 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning. Obsession. This is exactly what it looks like and behaves like. And it's losing HUD housing. This shall be recognized under federal law regarding the privilege it is. It's not a right. And Delta Airlines is aiding in removing that privilege where surveillance is underway. All right, this is P.O.C. It is currently where Delta Airlines is gang stalking, 6:26 a.m. Stalking in the past. She's not doing so by herself. They're pacing in and out of Sarah's Regis Group. They're all being prosecuted. Downtown Ontario, John Stewart Company, the 280 North Limit Apartments, Metro 102, Ontario Town Square, and the entity gang stalking in the housing community while they are surrounding a relevant position while the fake sun is rising right here in alignment to me. And you're listening to the demons that are in denial, who are embarrassed, who do things like contort their faces, who do things like yell out what is gibberish, which is activity creation while they are still stalking. Stalking. Period. You're stalking. You're being committed. That's the P.O.C. It is 6:26 a.m. The old people in this city are going to find something to do because they're going to have to be forced to pay their own rent instead of being outside gang stalking other people. P.O.C. It is currently 6:29 a.m. So the video evidence that I just captured, which you are listening to on the podcast, remember this is evidence that the government is providing against this particular defendant. That is the entity, meaning the apartment complex building is being prosecuted while one person is engaging in the elements of monitoring, which is group conduct. Literally, the government provides evidence. I'm going to document. I have no idea what you're documenting while you are outside, what they think they're doing. These are demons that are, meaning these are mentally ill people that have never been prosecuted before for what is gang violence. And they have a false sense of, not number one, superiority because the government that I have shown you are nothing other than feces consumers, HIV infected, reckless, flesh-eating gargoyles. They're inferior, lower beings. That's what they have a sense of superiority over while they are gang stalking with that entity, okay? So first of all, that is shattered. Number two, they're embarrassed. So as I psychologically break that down, that's actually, it doesn't matter because as far as evidence is concerned, all the elements of monitoring are there and it's gang stalking and literally the fake sun is shining. The apartment building is covered in evidence. It's not sunlight. You're monitoring and everybody inside of that building is monitoring and you're monitoring all night while the entity was stalking me, targeting me by helicopter. No one is
reasonably or actually questioning what is wrong and what this person is doing while they are caught engaging in that which is wrong. Moreover, you're old as dirt, okay, or as equally as or older than dirt. I'm trying to, the entity is engaging in this pattern of conduct and you are under all circumstances humiliated. And these are the elderly that are gang stalking. This is what they're doing while they are stalking inside of this Ontario Senior Center, while the government is acting in the same pattern of conduct with the Ontario police is what the elderly population are engaging in. How are they? Because they're all of the same condition. And this is the uniform ability to diagnose based on that mentally ill, deranged, psychopathic, sexually perverted, antisocial pattern of conduct. And holding up your phone does not make the evidence go away. It is not a defense. It's not a rebuttal. It's not evidence that's protecting you. It's not making it lawful to engage in the gang stalking while you hold your... These are all of the subconscious issues that a demon is going through while they are being prosecuted, and it's something that they cannot deal with. They don't know what to do with that. These are creatures. But what you need to understand is that the entity was providing in this video evidence, which is analyzed to prosecute an entity. It is the same analysis when the demons come from Metro 102, walking their dog over here, gang stalking, which is what I'm documenting, at the Ontario Town Square, coming from all the apartment complexes, coming from the housing community, crossing path. You're doing your gym workout. This is the same entity that's being prosecuted. She just comes out of John Stewart Company. John Stewart Company is gang stalking and harassing. MIG Real Estate is gang stalking and harassing. GI Partners is gang stalking and harassing me while doing it. Saris Regis Group is coming out and harassing. That is conspicuously. That's a threat on top of gang stalking me. To do it in my face. Yes, I'm going to stalk you. I'm going to hold a gun in my hand and I'm going to follow you around. And what are you going to do? Oh, you're going to document me? I'm going to do it more. I'm going to do it more frequently. I'm going to do it more loudly. I'm going to be more psychotic with more impossible light activity while I'm holding my gun. And I'm going to do it right in front of your face. And what are you going to do about it? This is what the entity is engaging in, threatening you while you're conspicuously stalking. You are breaking down what they are literally doing while they engage in the witchcraft of federal group stalking and monitoring. Moreover, they're doing it while you're documenting it. I'm getting your license plate. I'm getting your place of residence. I'm getting the city that you reside in. I'm getting what is around irrelevant position. Every single apartment building was speaking. Every single actor within the entity, meaning the population, is speaking through one. This is the entity that's engaging in that. And you're talking about up to what is the gang stalkers who are the police department? Yeah, they're all speaking together. This is the entity that is in the same city, off of the same street, stalking with the same airlines, Southwest Airlines, UPS, with the Ontario Police Department at H in Euclid, and I'm at C in Euclid. D, E, F, G, 8, that's 5 blocks up. That's not even a mile. It's right up the street past the Bethel Congregation, which is at the corner. The entity's gang stalking in the fake sun, which I have at 6 o'clock in the morning. There is no duration of time. While you're listening to this is where you're diagnosing, okay? There is no distraction. You're going to be prosecuted. It's all being analyzed. The bigger picture, okay, you are definitely gang stalking. There is no sun, no natural environment that is going to provide for what you are doing in concert with other people who are documented, and those other people make up the same entity in that same environment, and you are behaving as though you are some exception to it, as though you have a right to engage in what you are doing and what everyone else knows that you are doing, and based on the evidence of what you are doing, not what you want to act like you're doing, on what you have a right to do, not what you want to act like you have a right to do. You are then being assessed with regard to the threat that you pose to the public, while you want to terrorize other people and then behave as though you have a right to do so, or to harass, or even engage in criminal summoning, or engage in any manner of harassing. While I'm outside, guess what that is? It's providence. So that you are benefiting off of who Satan is and what Satan is doing. So you know who Satan, what Satan looks like. Satan doesn't have a race and an age. Satan doesn't have an address. Satan is an entity. He uses people. This is a demon-possessed elderly person who was going to be homeless, and she's not going to appreciate it if people are making fun of her homelessness, which is a result of her criminal activity, her wickedness, not the result of her stealing from the targeted individual and defrauding the targeted individual, conspiring to murder the targeted individual, being obsessed with the targeted individual, which is why she is literally gang stalking while she is referring to homelessness, that which the demons who are obsessed with me, they like to refer to that, which is what they engage in the pattern of conduct for, while they worship you. I worship you and I don't want you to be on that pedestal, and it makes me feel better when you're homeless. I'm going to gang stalk and target you until you're in that circumstance, and then I'm going to use that. I'm going to use that to defame your character. I'm going to use that to make you feel lesser, to make myself feel greater. This is the psychological breakdown of what is behind a population of demons who, by virtue of that description, literally what they do, they are a threat to national security. This is what they do in order to make themselves feel superior to the one that they worship. Okay? It is very much a threat while the entity worships you and obsesses over you and gang stalks you accordingly. It definitely has a direct impact on your ability, because you are not incapable of providing for yourself. The entity is hostile to your abilities and therefore interferes with your constitutional and human right to provide for yourself in whatever ways that you can while you abide by the law, because you're not a criminal while they're gang stalking you. You're an exceptional and advanced human who's not a demon. That's why they're gang stalking you. Okay? The entities, and that's the reality. Everything that is stated is under the fake sun. It's activity creation. So you're monitoring me while you're harassing, and you're engaging in harassment as though you are not engaging in that criminal activity. Okay? You're contorting your face last night while the entity is stalking in the helicopter as though it is absurd and you're not engaging in what is the pattern of conduct. These are the bases of assessing mental illness based on what they are actually doing, not the illusion that nobody is deceived by. You literally see my shadow in front of me at a distance upright on the wall and my shadow on the ground behind me. Okay, this is where the fake sun is setting 12 hours later. This is where the entity is maintaining that environment. The military is in the same video. While you're, what are you doing holding up your phone? You're going to create a video for me to upload onto YouTube to prosecute you because you're helping me. This is not that I need your help, Satan, but there is, in other words, nothing for the entity to do. And as you say anything, as you engage in any sort of intimidation tactics, and while you're doing that, while you're co-defendant, who are creatures that can't outthink themselves out of the box that the P.O.C. has trapped them in, you're going to prison. Okay, that's the prosecution of John Stewart Company and every other property management company, the venues that are engaging the P.O.C. with the government that is providing evidence against them. And that's what you're mindful of. It is the same exact evidence while they're coming from the housing community in Upland, walking down Euclid Avenue, taking an Uber, parking at the Ontario Town Square parking lot, and coming out to Cross Path in Ontario at the Civic Center. It's the same exact analysis. Except the entity's adding what is harassment. Oh, you want to refer to homelessness. This is why you stole my money and my wealth, so that then you could call me homeless, and oh, you're the one that's sleeping outside. What is that supposed to mean? First of all, I don't actually care what you think. But second of all, you're putting this in terms of the purpose of the pattern of conduct in the first place. To cause you to be suicidal, to cause you to hate yourself, your identity, to when, again, the target individual may or may not even know that everything that they have suffered is precipitating from harm that they have a right to recover from in court. They might not have that understanding. But regardless of that, this is the reality of that. And the entity engages in that to harm your mind, harming your mind with regard to traumatizing you, with regard to what is not only physically taking your life, but psychologically taking your existence, your vibrance, all right, your essence. This is what you're doing when you are engaging in what is terrorism as a population. And you're spending millions of dollars on doing it, while you are the population that is going to be outside. Understand, removing HUD housing programming is relevant for what is the gang stalkers that are the people of the state of California. California will not be participating in any federal housing programs. California is a gang stalker, and California is in violation of HUD rules as they exist, while the state of California is engaging in levying war against any American citizen in the United States, which every gang stalking property that's participating in HUD housing is engaged in. And I have documented it as I am encountering them: Alvarado Gardens, Woodside Senior Apartments, John Stewart Company, Metro 102 Apartments, the entity that's gang stalking while you are literally at the TAD office, San Bernardino County Transitional Assistant Department, the ones that are handing out, that's a form of welfare, and they're gang stalking. The government is monitoring, and it is evidence to use against them. And while I document any apartment building, by the way, engaging in that P.O.C. in that specific environment, that's letting you know what the entire state is engaging in. And California is being removed from the ability to participate in federal housing. Federal housing benefits, and the entities engaging in this while they're gang stalking. You are always harming yourself when you are targeting the entity that refuses to stand down when you don't have a leg to stand on. That is harming yourself. Not only are you going to be homeless because you can't pay your rent, and you engage in what is gang stalking of the American people, an American citizen that is moreover prosecuting you. I'm not the one that's outside with nothing to do. I'm outside because I'm getting up close and personal. And I'm reporting on the terrorists, making sure that they are internationally recognized, and with regard to what is surrounded and bullied by federal law. And this bullying by the law is absolutely lawful and constitutional, and it's just. That's what you're understanding. So I want to make sure that that's clear. The entity's doing a U-turn. This is FedEx. I'm going to get video. Alrighty, I go into video right now. And so that will be available. It is FedEx doing a cartwheel over the Ontario City Hall, stalking in the path while the entity then engages in criminal summoning. That is the criminal activity that the LAPD is engaging in while they are running over the young man on the skateboard in the middle of the street. It is pursuant to criminal monitoring as they are engaged in premeditated murder, targeting a third party and then running him over. And you can even in the video evidence that is shown inside of the vehicle of LAPD, who were claiming to engage in an investigation. That is a disingenuous misrepresentation of what they intend to do. They intended to take the life of someone by engaging in criminal summoning. The very use of sirens and lights in emergency vehicles is relevant to criminal surveillance. When you're maintaining criminal surveillance like the city of Los Angeles is, like the Los Angeles Police Department is, you are not engaging in any investigation because you don't even have any questions about what's going on. These are monitoring spirits, moreover, who are engaging in what is the abuse of technology in inhumane manners, violating the privacy of American citizens. Everybody in Los Angeles is a demon, however, so they've all waived their privacy. But this is speaking to knowledge. You're not learning of any emergencies. You don't have any emergencies, and nor was this an emergency in the video that you can listen to. It's criminal summoning under the fake sun, moreover, while I'm documenting gang stalking by FedEx. The entity is engaging in this in Los Angeles where it's relevant to what is knowledge. Not only is there not
an emergency that you're rushing to, pursuant to surveillance of this young man on his skateboard on an ongoing daily basis, who he is, where he works, the route that he takes home, and the way in which he does so. Riding his skateboard typically in the middle of the street is something that he's done on probably more than one occasion, probably while in the middle of crossing the street, if not something that he's routinely engaging in. Nonetheless, under all circumstances, under the fake sun, in the specific environment, there is no emergency services that the Los Angeles Police Department are engaging in when they are engaging in what is premeditated. That is beforehand, before committing that act of hitting his person. They are also in the vehicle, steering the wheel toward the meridian, toward the center, not making a turn away from him. This is not only evident that the Los Angeles Police Department, a demon, is engaging in what is the routine act of murder, serial killers that are a part of what are gang stalking agencies, terrorist agencies, not law enforcement agencies. You can see it in the video that is provided by the Los Angeles Police Department. But moreover, this is evidence proven through the pattern of conduct that the state of California is engaging in. And that was premeditated murder because of surveillance that the city of Los Angeles is engaging in, just like the city of Ontario. Just like the demons that are driving and operating the fire departments, driving and operating fire trucks, gang stalking, driving and operating ambulances and police vehicles. And they're monitoring, meaning that's more than stalking. And you're not supposed to be stalking as police, but they are. They don't have any emergencies. They know that there's a fire started. They started it. They're demons. They know that there is a robbery. They're the ones engaging in it. They're not investigating it. They're keeping themselves employed. They're maintaining the illusion. And they're sounding their sirens en route to hit this young man in the middle of the street, which was premeditated murder. Not an accident. And not within the execution of the duties of an officer sounding their sirens headed to an emergency. That is the P.O.C. And that's what's relevant behind the city of Ontario engaging in criminal summoning under the fake sun that's still here 12 hours later. All right, that's the P.O.C. And FedEx is engaging in that pattern of conduct. Doing a cartwheel over the parking lot. And then you are going to then replay the evidence of the mentally ill population that's going to be subject to martial law. Stalking me at 12 o'clock in the morning, stalking me at 5 o'clock in the morning, which is the evidence to have them committed. You will be committed while you are engaging in gang stalking. And I want to be clear, that entire population, every single last one of them are vulnerable for commitments. This is the evidence that the federal government has, and this is what a population has made itself vulnerable to when you first decide to, as an entire population, levy war against an American citizen. It is the ability to categorically assess mental illness by virtue of a criminal system underway amongst that people and that government in that environment, in that state. This is an entity that's engaging in that level of endangering their own selves regarding their liberty and being involuntarily committed. Were the judge, any court, to find that to be necessary with regard to any neighborhood, any corporate actor, any person that's engaging in the pattern of conduct, and that is anybody in Ontario. This is the level of surveillance that is already exposed, and this is an entity that's going to be committed. When you're gang stalking, you shall be committed. This is the P.O.C. It's currently 6:48 a.m. This is the P.O.C. That's the entity that's engaging in that, and so you're mindful of the harassment that an elderly biddy is engaging in, because in the bare bones situation there, she's embarrassed. Okay, and that's beyond my concern. But I do have to encounter what are demons that are delusional, engaging in conduct. You're way too old, period. You're old, and you're engaging in this pattern of conduct, and you're embarrassed because you are sleeping inside. Why are you? Because you are stalking me while I'm outside. Well, then you also try to weaponize that and use that against me. Does that mean that you're not gang stalking right now while I'm sleeping outside? Oh, okay. Because the last time I checked, economic status has nothing to do with criminal activity that is proven with tangible evidence, and that's what's against her. But while the entity engages in these psychological tactics, which are not very scientific, they're not intricate, they're not intelligent, they're not logical or reasonable at all, they're not relevant. But this is what the entity does. While you do that, you're going to be committed. You're going to be assessed by, okay, so first of all, you're stalking, you're conspiring murder, your co-defendant is flying over your head, which is evidence against you, and everything coming out of your face is going to be used with regard to medical professionals that are assessing how much of a danger you are to the public and yourself. Because there's a whole population that's monitoring to what you're saying. You're all stalking. There's a whole population of demons while you're stalking conspicuously. You're very foolish, in other words. Very foolish. You volunteered for committing. Me. Look at me. Send me. That's what you're doing. This is the P.O.C. It's currently 6:50 a.m. at the Ovid Family Community Library. This is the uniform analysis regarding all of the people of the state who are being prosecuted by place of residence. Okay? This is P.O.C. This is P.O.C. This is FedEx that is equally engaging in criminal monitoring. This is the entity that's not engaging in delivering any packages. They're not headed to a destination, and they're not engaging in anything lawful, legitimate, or what is relevant for anything other than conduct. And FedEx is doing something very similar on Hope Boulevard when I'm walking to the San Bernardino TAD office. This is evidence while they are stalking me in the path on Hope Boulevard while I'm walking east toward San Bernardino Human Services Department at 1627 East Holt. The fake sign is over Holt Boulevard, and I'm walking east, and the entity is keeping the fake sign over me while FedEx, a documented terrorist, also gang stalking me hours from now at 10 a.m. while the fake sign is over the John Stewart Company. All right, over the edge of that was during the 10 a.m. hour where the occupants are at sunrise 4 hours earlier, gang stalking and harassing. Okay, this is the prosecution of John Stewart Company, the prosecution of FedEx, the prosecution of the city of Ontario that's gang stalking using a dumpster, which is a means of amplified audible activity and light activity. The entity that's engaging in this is doing so while it is evidence against what you are doing, what you're saying, contorting your face. Oh, while you are stalking in the path at 12 o'clock in the morning, while you are gang stalking as a population that doesn't have any sort of argument. You're talking about you're still gang stalking, period, let alone uttering anything. While you are gang stalking, your obsession that you cannot obviously contain, you're going to get assistance with that, federal assistance, all right? And this is the entity that's engaging in that which you ought to be doing, not at all. But if you're talking about gang stalking and you're speaking, you're going to be committed. This is the evidence of that. Just like I stated, you're gang stalking me, I'm going to have you committed. This is federal policy. The demons that are stalking and Delta airline planes are not headed to a destination. There are no passengers on those planes. There are no flights from the airport headed to a destination. They're gang stalking. And so is everybody in this area under that fake sun with the entity that's engaging in that surveillance system. And it's the same with FedEx and UPS, Amazon Prime. It doesn't matter what plane that you use, what terminal that it's coming from, or the absence of an assigned terminal. FedEx is engaging in the same conduct that Southwest Airlines and UPS are engaged in. Stalking, monitoring via aerial surveillance, which is psychotic. The Ontario Fire Department, the Ontario Police Department, American Medical Response are not engaging in any emergencies. The use of sirens is the evidence of mental instability and criminal monitoring by the entire city, and they will be stripped of all abilities to do so. The entity that is embarrassed and humiliated and equally prosecuted by this body of evidence is nonetheless subject to what justice requires as a result of being proven to being engaged in the very allegations. They've committed a series of kidnappings in Ontario. Federal housing is over for the city of Ontario in particular, but this is speaking to the entire state. While FedEx is doing a cartwheel behind the senior center over the Ontario City Hall. Understand there are many areas covered at one time while the entity is gang stalking in this manner. It is currently 6:43 a.m. This is the P.O.C. Flying over the top of my head, very targeted. Like it always is, flying over the top of my head while walking to Ontario at 848 North. They're stalking together, license 8 Xavier Charlie Bob 085, prison. They're stalking me on the roads and the highways, 27741 Larry 3. And they're stalking with the military in a helicopter. You're going to prison for this. These are psychopaths. All right, these are demons. And the entity's engaging when it's stalking me on the sidewalk. License 7DVJ 730. You need to understand these aren't humans that are engaging in stalking while they're driving on the roads, tracking my steps on the sidewalk. These are demons. All right, and they're engaging. And this is, again, I documented this morning the entity stalking me at El Pescador by helicopter, and the same third party was in my presence. This is the P.O.C. This is 846 North Euclid Avenue. This is the I Street and Euclid Avenue intersection where I've documented the fake sun morning and evening. This is the P.O.C. This is the entity that's engaging in that pattern of conduct while I am at the Upland Public Library and traveling back to Ontario now at what is 8:18 p.m. P.O.C. Alrighty, this is Relatable Properties that is stalking.
The entity is flying over the people of the state who are monitoring me while I'm across the street. This is Stalking with Light. That's a demon that's engaged in gang stalking, and they are every store inside of that plaza, which Relatable Properties is being prosecuted while the military is gang stalking me. And this is the same location where they were stalking at G Street and Euclid Avenue this morning. Okay, this is the P.O.C. Bank of America is stalking. See this? I'm prosecuting all the entity that's engaged in the Bank of America is monitoring. The city of Ontario is on the roads and the highways. This is the state of California. The entity is doing so flying over the top of my head and then gang stalking by monitoring with the demons at Relatable Properties, where the government, the military, is flying over with the people of the state, just like when flying over the John Stewart company apartments, and they're all being prosecuted. This is the P.O.C. It is currently 8:23 p.m. where the military is providing what is the evidence every business in the state of California, as I'm showing you, that's in operation in the city of Ontario. The transactions of the people of the state is going to be used to prosecute them, identify them. This is the entity that's engaging in what is with impunity, not free to engage in this whatsoever, and they are being federally prosecuted. This is P.O.C. and you will see these are the ones to be deported. Right? Terrorizing, stalking me by helicopter, routinely at the facilitating venues where you have prospective immigrants, and they are going to be deported. Gang stalking with the people. It is currently 8:23 p.m. where the military is following me back to the Ovid Family Community Library, where you saw this entity stalking me by helicopter at 11:59 last night. Stalking me, flying over the top of my head. This is the entity that's being federally prosecuted. Every business, Bank of America is going to compensate me Relatable Properties for engaging in that pattern of conduct with the U.S. military in furtherance of murder. This is not legitimate operation of business. This is surveillance by use of the establishments, even while they are closed, and they are gang stalking, and that's going under the company names. I'm prosecuting you. Relatable Properties, pay attention. This is P.O.C. It is currently 8:24 p.m. P.O.C. All right, this is the people of the state. I documented Eddie doing the same thing, gang stalking with the U.S. military, doing so while I'm walking on Lemon Avenue. This is documented already. This is the people of the state that engage in ongoing gang stalking by literally hanging around, and the entities engaging in psychopathic pacing. These are the stalkers that are engaged in that criminal conspiracy together. The entities stalking while I'm walking down Euclid Avenue, and the mental illness is shared by this demon that's engaging in. This is impunity, and this is another homeless bum that's engaging in stalking rather than looking for a job. He's monitoring and conspiring the murder of a woman that is documenting it. Very foolish and suicidal conduct, and the military is putting him in prison while he is volunteering himself, sacrificing himself with regard to the criminal pattern of conduct that he's clearly engaging in. This is the specific environment we're stalking. This is the entity that's engaged in that, including while you go to the Upland Public Library where I go, and the entity is stalking by helicopter. Every business, all the people of the state are monitoring while this demon is engaging in that pattern of conduct by accompanying while the helicopter is flying, following down the street. These are the same demons who are going to prison. This is P.O.C. This is Chevron that's gang stalking. These are demons, in case you did not know. These are a bunch of demons. The police do this too. They stand around in circles. It's satanic. This is the pattern of conduct. This is Chevron that's gang stalking. This is the entity that's engaged in flying over by helicopter. All right, this is the P.O.C. And this is the entity that's engaging that with Chevron. That is German, who's going to prison. He's going to be subject to deportation. And you're not, nor are you free to, while the entity is engaging in what is gang stalking and further into murder. These are the gang members that are going to be federally prosecuted. This is P.O.C. You look at that emblem, you see Chevron? Because Chevron's being prosecuted for P.O.C. All right, that's P.O.C. And by the way, those are demons. Those are cults that use motorcycles. That's a cult. That's the P.O.C. It is currently, I'm prosecuting them. It is currently 8:32 p.m. Alrighty, downtown Ontario Luxury Apartments is stalking with the military by helicopter, just like you saw on video yesterday morning, flying in circles over the roof of that apartment, gang stalking me with everyone inside of that apartment and everyone else in relevant position, the entire Ontario Civic Center, for example. License 9 George Xavier Victor 668 is gang stalking by virtue of my documenting criminal presence in the path. Engage in sexual assault and battery, Sarah's Regis Group, racing through the parking garage in order to engage in a molestation. This is an Asian male, license plate, ESAM 04714, that's a paper plate. The entity is engaged in what is following me. He is stalking. The entity is following me down the street by helicopter. So they're stalking inside of the parking garage, license plate, and Sarah's Regis Group is being prosecuted for it. This is the ongoing pattern of conduct showing that Sarah's Regis Group is still engaging in what is years of terrorism
and the corporate entity is going to be federally prosecuted for conspiracy to murder. License David George 88 Jerry 49. Using the Tesla chargers is a means of criminal presence in the path. They're stalking, in other words. They're maintaining presence while the entity, just like the one that you see stalking with the helicopter at El Pescador standing next to me and stalking on the sidewalk tonight. License 9 Yolanda Edward Charlie 478. A gang stalking third party coming from the upper level of the parking garage. That's where the residents are. And all of the residents of downtown Ontario luxury apartments are being federally prosecuted for gang stalking by place of residence. They're engaging in that pattern of conduct while the entity is engaging in the terrorist act of stalking by helicopter with the military, which is an act of levying war for which you're subject to prison, and the corporate entity is being prosecuted. So the entity is engaging in this while the entity is following me from Upland, but stalking as I'm walking south on Euclid Avenue. So this is my multiple videos that I capture, flying. The entity's flying over my head. Here's the entity flying over my head again. Here's the entity following me down the street. This is the entity that is stalking, and the commercial properties the corporate actors are stalking. They're being prosecuted together with the government, and they're being prosecuted with regard to what is mentally ill behavior as it's associated with the business, is a business that's going to be shut down because of the threat that it poses to the public. This is the P.O.C. It is currently 8:39 p.m. and the entity is engaging in that conduct. This is Metro 102 Apartments, which is MIG Real Estate, Ontario Town Square, which is GIP Partners, Downtown Ontario Luxury Apartments, which is Ceres Regis Group, the Ontario Senior Center Apartments. This is the John Stewart Company, the Ontario Town Square, which is the City of Ontario, the Ontario Senior Center, which is the City of Ontario, the Ovid Family Community Library, which is the City of Ontario, the entity that's stalking on the roads and the highways, which is the City of Ontario, the State of California, are all engaging in stalking together at once while the military is stalking me as I'm going down the street, and all of the businesses on Euclid Avenue are stalking. Starbucks is stalking, the Vietnamese Weekly newspaper is stalking, the Raymond Mortgage Premier is stalking, the Bethel Congregational Church is stalking, Bucket Crab and Crawfish is stalking, El Pescador is stalking, Reliable Properties, the entire shopping plaza is stalking, Bank of America is stalking, American Inn Motel is stalking, the entity and its homes along Euclid Avenue. These are the ones that are in relevant position as the entity is stalking by military in a helicopter, targeting me in that manner by helicopter, and they are all sharing in that targeting together, including as I document terrorists on the roads and the highways. This is the totality of that terrorist act while they are engaging in the gang violence of stalking someone together, harassing and psychologically torturing and deriving pleasure as demons together conspiring murder while it's happening in relevant position, which is what's happening when you're in that neighborhood, when you're on the street driving or walking, when you are in the drive-through of the bank, when you are ordering your pizza at Pizza Hut, when you're working at any of these venues, they're all gang stalking. It's monitoring. It's the system, and it's being prosecuted. This is the P.O.C. 8:41 p.m. The military follows me back to the Ovid Family Community Library, and everybody's being prosecuted for that. This is speaking to stalking that is ceaselessly underway from Ontario to Upland as well. So while the entity engages in that, this is the entity that provides evidence against itself for being prosecuted as an entire state, and an entire state is prosecuted by subjecting it to martial law, and it is going to be subject to what is mass involuntary commitments as well for the mentally ill system of gang stalking. It is currently 8:41 p.m. on Saturday, July 11, 2026. The third party that is in my presence, tall African-American male with the dreads. This is the same criminal activity that I'm subject to. If you recall my evidence when I am subject to the entity harassing me by helicopter throughout the housing area, and the entity, you'll see him, he's just in the background. These are demons that are engaging in what is hanging around me, following me around while I'm going to the library, I'm going to the post office, or I'm going to the TAD office, and they're going along with me, right? The entity is gang stalking while you are engaging in criminal presence in the path, and this is why you don't have a friend when you're being gang stalked. And they are psychopaths. This is mentally ill behavior while you're sitting there coking and joking and cheesing like nothing is happening, and the entity is engaging in the psychopathic conduct of flying repeatedly around me and in circles by helicopter, and you're right there sacrificing yourself and in behaving in that manner, just as though you're contorting your face, as though it's ridiculous that someone would suggest that you are engaging in exactly what you are engaging in as you engage in it, or engaging in what is harassing the person that you are gang stalking, engaging in what is
a false sense of befriending the person that you are gang stalking is psychopathic. Okay, highly malicious, and the entities engage in this as a population that are feigning to be strangers, and they're all present to stalk and monitor you. This is that psychopathic population that's going to be subject to martial law as a matter of justice and protection regarding the national security threat that the demon-possessed population pose as gang stalkers, which is mentally ill criminal activity proven by the entity, again on another day, following me around in helicopter. Okay, this is the entity that's engaging in that from place to place, doing so while you are engaging in that. And what I documented Eddie engaging in this same conduct. This is another third party. His name is Shedrick, engaging in the same conduct. And I documented this also before. This is what Tracy Banks is engaging in as a fake family member. But with regard to the entity engaging with his gang stalking me while I'm outside, and these strangers that are around me while they're targeting, and this is the same conduct, multiple faces, same conduct, and it is the entity that is literally a fool because you are going to prison. That's literally going into a bank, robbing it. You don't put on a mask. You give them your license before you hold up a gun and demand the money, and they know exactly who you are. You're on surveillance camera, and the police are already there, and they know exactly who they're going for and who you are. There's no mystery with regard to what you've done and who you are, and you're going to prison. This is what the entity is doing by gang stalking, by being in my presence like this. But this is documented on a series of occasions, and that evidence is also on the record. This is the P.O.C. It is currently 8:44 p.m.